what time it is. Buckle up and enjoy the ride.
Welcome to this special edition of the Mike G in the Morning Show. I'm Philly Chris, co-host of the Mike G in the Morning Show, and I'm here today at Snappuccino Studios with Chief Andre Boyer. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, sir, for having me.
Very welcome. Thanks for making time to come in. I know this has been a rough week for you. For those of you who have been paying attention to the news, Chief Boyer is the chief of PA SITE, the Strategic Intervention Tactical Enforcement security firm here in Philadelphia. He runs the business with several individuals who work for him as agents licensed here in the state of Pennsylvania, who are hired by private companies to keep their properties safe. As we all know, things have been escalating here in Philadelphia and other cities across the country. And it's folks like this who are stepping up to the plate to allow those businesses to operate. So in a few moments, I'm going to play a clip of what took place on Tuesday of this past week when Agent Santiago, 39, father of three, also has a newborn, was involved in a tragic shooting at a Carco gas station, correct?
It was a Phillips 66 gas
That's
station.
correct. Yeah, I think we actually first met at the Carco last
Yes.
year when I came out to visit you and you were protecting a property out in that area of Philadelphia. But I do want to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about who you are and what you do, Chief, if you don't mind letting the audience know a little bit more about yourself, please.
I don't mind. My name is Chief Andre Boyer. I am the CEO of Pennsylvania SITE State Agents. I started this in 2013 after leaving the Philadelphia Police Department. I had my own ideas and strategies of how to stop gun violence in the city of Philadelphia. And in my mind, you can't just talk about it. You have to step up and do something about it. And so that's when I decided to start my own protection private police and give my services to the citizens and try to stop some of the crime and some of the gun violence that occurs in the city of Philadelphia. And we have been successful with, you can just ask any of my clients. We've been successful in what we do.
Yeah, I remember when I first met you, I came out to the location, and one of the things I did do at the time was speak to Mr. Patel, who had hired you at the Carco. And he explained to me how his business was dropping and people were afraid to literally stop at his gas station and convenience store in that section of Philadelphia until you guys came along and allowed him to continue to operate the business safely. So it is really unfortunate what's going on in this area, and quite good what you guys are able to do for those business owners locally who have just decided to take protection into their own hands. And we are all responsible for our own protection.
That is correct, yes.
Yeah. You know, at the end of the day, the police are great. We have no issues with the police, but they're taxed quite a bit in this city as far as resources go, so they can't be everywhere. And unfortunately, they're often called after something happens. So in your case, you're actually actively there on the scene, providing a deterrent and protection, which unfortunately has become very important in this day and age with what's going on in the city. So in just a moment, I do want to play that clip of what happened, and then we can talk about that. And then I have some other clips I wanted to play for you since you've been generous enough to give us a long format interview today and get together and talk about, what you've been up to since we first met at the Carco. But before I do that, I just wanted to get a little bit better understanding of why you transitioned away from, being a police officer and then opening your own company. What took place for that to happen?
Well, basically what took place is I basically had a problem with what was going on within the Philadelphia Police Department. Throughout the city lately, throughout the nation lately, you have noticed that we have what we call the silence behind the badge. And I basically was a whistleblower. I blew the whistle on corruption within the Philadelphia Police Department on a police officer. I can't mention his name. His name is Sergeant Angel Ortiz. And basically what he did was he took evidence out of a car, which was 2 bundles of heroin, and put it back in the vehicle. and then went to the narcotics field unit so they could process it. They then put it back in the car, called for a dog. Everything they did was wrong. When it went to court, they wanted me to say they needed a different person to say something different because both officers were saying something totally different. And you can read the transcripts. The transcripts don't lie. One officer says he recovered it. One officer said she got it on a search warrant. One after a dog was called to the scene. None of that happened. None of that happened. And I was threatened by the DA's office. If I didn't say what Angel Ortiz said, that it could be detrimental to my career. I had a choice. I raised my kids to always tell the truth, no matter what the outcome may be. Always tell the truth. And I had a choice. I could have sent the drug dealer to prison and say, yeah, this is what Officer Angel Ortiz said is correct. But I chose not to. I chose to tell the DA the truth, what happened. Then I became a target. It's funny how when I blew the whistle on Angel Ortiz, the city of Philadelphia used Angel Ortiz as their only witness to have me thrown off the force.
Interesting.
And that no one wanted to close the dots. No one wanted to connect the dots. And then a year later, after I'm off the force, the district attorney's office sends me a letter telling me Angel Ortiz pled guilty during a PBI hearing, which I was not exposed to, which I should have been. The department kept me out of it. He pled guilty to planting heroin, tampering with evidence, falsifying documents, because he had to do the police report. That's all fireable offenses. But the most one, he committed perjury on the stand in court. But yet you fire me because I became a whistleblower. After that, I started my page called Serpico News. And basically what Serpico News did was I had police officers who were fed up with the injustice that was going on within the Philadelphia Police Department, and they would give me information so I can investigate the corrupt officers. I'm responsible for 10 Philadelphia police officers either being fired or dismissed or arrested, and they know it. And I became a target. Then I said, you know what, I want to do something more for my city, because what was going on at that time is gun violence was out of control and people didn't know what to do. So I said, okay, you know what? I got an idea. I know what I can do to help not only law enforcement, but also help the people within the community who wanted the help and needed the help, because the police department doesn't have the manpower and we could be there before them.
And how long ago did that happen, Chief?
The incident with me being fired from the Philadelphia Police Department happened in 2013.
Okay. So about 11 years now.
Yes.
Okay. And when did you start your company?
I started my company in 2015.
2015. Okay. So you kind of got right back at it. Decided.
Yeah.
And you're from Philadelphia originally?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Could you tell the audience a little bit about your history in Philadelphia, like what your youth was like and how you ended up becoming a Philadelphia police officer?
My youth, it was I grew up in Columbia, South Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah, a farm, horses, chickens, pigs, and the whole nine. My uncle, Nazroy Reese, he raised me like a father. Oh, wow. And I call him Dad because he did raise me like a father. And my father passed. And my mother, that's why I was down there in Columbia, South Carolina, because my mother had fell ill and there was no way for her to take care of me at that time. So she sent me down there to get the schooling, which I did get the great schooling at Lower Richland High.
There you go.
Great Christian background, just a loving, wholesome family.
Do you feel that's why you have the morals and the fortitude to stand up to corruption? And
without a doubt, without a doubt. My dad, my uncle, who I call my dad once again, he set morals in me, and he says, no matter what, always do the right thing. Even if you're afraid of the outcome, do the right thing, and everything will fall in place.
Right. That's good advice. Yeah, I went to a summer camp and worked there as a youth at a Y camp up in New Hampshire. We had a saying called "the hard right against the easy wrong."
Yeah.
And I see you've chosen that path, and it's not an easy one. You know, you've paid the consequences in some ways, but now you're reaping the reward of being on the other side of that. And, you know, thank you for what you're doing here in Philadelphia and keeping people safe. And I've looked, did some looking around online, and quite a few of the local news stations have done some surveys, and it looks like about 80% of the people here in Philadelphia support what you are doing.
Yes.
Based on those surveys. But before we dig deeper into some other things, I think it's an opportune time maybe to play the clip and then kind of talk about that and what you've been going through and what Agent Santiago's been going through, and then we can talk a little bit more about that and get into some other parts of your background and what brought you here today. So, Alec, if you don't mind playing that clip of the actual event that took place at the gas station on Tuesday. Thank you.
Sunoco Mini Mart, armed with a gun, and confronted an armed security guard in uniform.
Now, guys, Inspector Small says the gunman lived in the neighborhood and may have been in the store earlier. There might have been an argument, left and came back, which could explain why the two men were quick to confront one another. Now, Small also said that police had been told that the shooter used a smoker to prepare and sell food from the parking lot. That is not confirmed. Guys, as we come back to our live shot, you can see the gentleman going in the door there, walking up toward some coolers. Those coolers are clearly stricken by gunfire. They're all covered up with black plastic right now, and those cooler glasses will have to be replaced. But the store is open, guys. This morning, they, most of the folks coming in through these doors right now, we've talked to a couple of them, are not even aware that something so drastic had happened right here at these doors just last night, guys.
Yeah, back open for business. Interesting.
So in the clip, for those of you who are seeing it for the first time, Agent Santiago's in the gas station. An individual enters the gas station. There appears to be some sort of interaction. And then he pulls out a firearm, which I believe had an extended clip. It looks like it maybe had some rubber bands around the hand,
Yes,
too,
it
which
did.
is a little odd. Maybe in your words, tell us what happened at that point.
From my understanding, what happened, Agent Santiago had told this gentleman that he couldn't park his SUV that had a huge, when it was barbecue grill attachments that was actually on. And he told me he couldn't park it, blocking the pumps. And they had those words outside. And it escalated to him cursing and carrying on at Agent Santiago, which he ignored and went inside the store. And then as the guy comes to the store, he said, listen, told you couldn't park your car there. You're banned. You have to leave the store. And that point, the guy pushed Agent Santiago back. And when he pushed Agent Santiago back, Agent Santiago said, I could see his shirt come up. I could see the gun in his waistband. And he said, that's when I knew from your training to take a tactical stance. He backed up, took a tactical stance. He knew not to automatically just start shooting because, in the city of Philadelphia, anybody, like I told you, anybody can carry a gun.
Right.
And everybody has the Second Amendment rights.
Right.
So he had to have probable cause. And what this guy did next gave our Agent Santiago probable cause to take action. The guy then says, what's up, reaches down into his pants, pulls this gun out of his waistband, which had a 30-round mag with a rubber band on it, and pointed it right at my agent. My agent fearing for his life, and a husband and wife who were to the left of him. When he did the gun like that, he pointed the gun at them.
Oh, he flagged them as well. Okay.
They're right there at the gaming machines playing the games, and all watching what's going on. And then you got the other two employees that are in center in the front.
I mean, there's no reason to pull a firearm.
And there's no reason. There was no reason for him to pull a firearm. But like you say, this guy just started using street language. What's up? What's up? And then pulls the gun and points it. My guy, feeling for his safety, he fires. And now, as you see in the video, even after he goes down, he's on the ground. He then makes some kind of statement, oh God, really? And then he leans forward, both hands on his weapon, fires 3 more rounds, one of them which strikes my guy in the leg. My guy now seeing that his handgun is not working with this guy, because anybody else would have dropped the weapon by now.
Right.
This guy's still shooting at him. So now he reverts to his shotgun and he fires. Now, through his training and the training of all law enforcement, once you're being fired upon, you fire until you feel the threat is done. That's training with the FBI. That's training with the state police. That's training with local and state law enforcement.
Right.
And I train my guys the same exact way. You know, shoot until you feel the threat is done.
Yeah, it makes sense. And it's an interesting example of, you know, a lot of folks, especially people who are not as familiar with firearms, often think that you shoot somebody once or twice and it's over. But, you know, in this case, you can see where that's not the case. You know, you got to get the rounds on target. And even if they're on target, you know, that individual may still have the capacity to fire rounds back.
Yes.
So, you know, you have to eliminate the threat, as you mentioned. So,
But one of my other main concerns, and this is tragic what happened.
Sure,
this is very tragic
Absolutely.
from both sides.
Right.
From both sides, what happened. I believe that a lot of these shootings like this can be relieved if take, for instance, I found out that the guy who pulled his weapon out, he had a CCW license to carry. What the Philadelphia Police Department has failed to do when giving out these licenses is telling people, you know what, if you point this weapon and you don't have just cause, you just committed aggravated assault, you could go to jail, you're gonna go to jail, or you could get shot and killed.
Well, certainly training. You know, a lot of these folks, unfortunately, don't go through.
There should be
training,
there should be something. If you're going to get a license to carry, you should at least go through some kind of training and know the laws. At least break down the laws to these individuals and know that, you know, you get in a heated argument, you can't pull your gun.
Well, as we both know, the only time you should pull out a firearm is if you're, under imminent threat. You know,
Exactly.
life, danger. You know, rape. Immediate.
Yeah, the Second Amendment was there for you to protect yourself,
Right.
Not for you to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to be Billy Badass and pull a gun on somebody just
Exactly,
because I
yeah,
can.
right.
That's not what it's for.
Yeah, and in this situation, there was no reason for him to display, let alone pull it out and flag
Absolutely
people
no
in the
reason
store,
whatsoever.
create a dangerous situation.
I don't know what was in his mind or what he was going through, or if he was going through something, or, you know, if he was angry at somebody else and he just assumed that he was going to take it out on a agent who's heavily armed.
Yeah, sure. It's a odd thing to do. When I first saw the video, I was kind of shocked, and having met you last year, and keeping an eye on you in the media and seeing what's going on, it's a really unfortunate situation. Very tragic, of course. We don't want to see anybody get shot or injured, on either side of that equation. But there are consequences if you display a firearm unnecessarily aggressively towards somebody else without justification. That's a crime. That's why we talk about the difference between legal gun ownership and illegal. And even if he has a permit, that doesn't give you the right to do that in that situation. So, that's very important. And there's a big debate on the whole training thing, whether the state should get involved in that or not. But it is such a personal responsibility. People like yourself and your agents do regular training. I know you train with them at least every few weeks, I believe you've said, if not more.
We try to do it every 3 or 4 weeks, or if we can get that training in, but we do definitely once a month.
Yeah, it's a very important thing. It's a serious decision to become a gun owner, not to be taken lightly. And training is a critical aspect of that. And there's a lot of good organizations out there that provide that. So thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. And I'm glad that your guy's hanging in there. I know he's still at the hospital. We might even stop down and see him later after this filming. Just to say hello and check on him. Hopefully he'll fully recover. It sounds like I heard you talking earlier a little bit. I hope you don't mind it. It sounds like he already wants to get back on the job. So,
yeah, he's eager to come back to work. He like I said, he he did his job.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but I see him as a hero because there were a husband and a wife and 2 workers in that store.
Yeah.
This could have been very, very, very bad.
Sure. He could have prevented something much more serious.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, and you never know what someone's intentions are when they pull a gun out like that.
No, you
especially against somebody who's clearly in a position of authority as an agent protecting the property. Like, just doesn't make a lot of sense. But
It's something that Santiago brought to me,
Mm-hmm.
brought my attention, and I didn't recognize it until after I looked at the video the second time. He said the first thing when he pulled out the gun, he said, I noticed he was wearing gloves.
oh, interesting. Okay.
And
Right,
he,
right.
in his mind, he didn't know what was getting ready to go down.
Sure.
The guy's wearing gloves. He pulls out a gun saying, what's up?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
at that
yeah.
point, he's displayed a gun and he did what his training taught him how to do, eliminate
Mm-hmm.
the threat in that situation. One thing I did want to ask you, you guys are out there every day. I've seen you out there at the gas stations, and a lot of people in the community have taken notice to what you're doing to provide a safe environment. What is it like being out there day in and day out in this environment in Philadelphia where the crime is, through the roof and it's just a dangerous situation? What does that feel like for you and your agents?
For me, it's when we first started doing it, it was very trying because a lot of Philadelphians in the areas that we protect, they have their own mindset of what they believe is right and wrong versus what the law says we could do and what we can't do. And it's small things like, hey, I'll say, hey, sir, you can't smoke while you're at the while you're standing there got the nozzle in the gas tank.
Doesn't everybody
And
know
like,
that, Andre?
You're like, I can smoke while I'm pumping gas. I said, no, sir, you can't. And then we'll have an argument over that until he slowly realizes, hey, okay, yeah, you got a good point.
Yeah.
Or it's just little stuff, just little stuff. And the biggest issue that I have is the thefts.
Okay.
Coming into the stores and stealing, even when you have the money.
Really?
Money. On Easter, just this Easter, I had a young guy, he is 22 years old, with his son and his daughter walk into the store, blatantly steal a round thing of bubble gum, the strip bubble gum, and start walking out. And I walk up behind him and I say, hey, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
This is Easter Sunday. You got your kids with you and you're stealing. And he blatantly says, I don't care, F you, stick your finger. He's sticking his fingers up at me and everything.
Wow.
And he's leaning down with his arms around his kids, say, yo, F the cop.
To his child.
To his children to say that to me. Wow. And I said, you know what, I'm going to let it go because if you needed it, I would have given you the money for it. I don't want to arrest you on Easter because DHS will take your children and you'll be sitting down in the cell eating a cheese sandwich trying to explain why you stole $1 and something bubble gum for no reason just because you do it. And then he reaches, I got money. He reaches in and pulls out a couple of 50s and flashes it. And I'm just like,
Where does that mentality come from, you think? Having grown up in the South and then coming to Philadelphia. How old were you when you came to Philly?
I was 18 when
18.
I came to Philly.
Okay, so like what you're seeing in this area, I was about 20 when I moved here, so similar age, and I did see a lot of differences. So what do you think? How does that mentality come to
me?
Yeah.
To me, it all boils down to home training. Okay. It boils down to home training. The kids today are growing up, and they grow up with the attitude of they don't care.
Right.
And they don't care about the consequences until after they're knee deep in it and realize that, oh, wow, you know what? This is real.
This is actually real, yeah.
Right. Then it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's way too late.
Mm-hmm.
It's sad. It's really, really sad. Like the shooting we just had Wednesday at the Muslim festival, in the park.
Yeah, you started to tell me about that earlier. That was the day after this shooting with Santiago.
Exactly.
You were on the scene at another shooting that took place.
Yeah, 48th and Lancaster, yes.
And you were involved in getting the police there, I believe, before the incident
happened.
Because of some cars that were parked illegally. So go
Yeah.
ahead and tell us about that.
Well, I went to 48th and Lancaster, where there's a gasoline station, Phillips 66, and the owner sent me there because they were having a festival in the park, and these guys decided to use their gasoline station as their private parking lot. So I came there to have all the cars ticketed. So I called a police officer over to have the cars ticketed and explained to the police officer, hey, this is private property. All these cars have to be towed and ticketed. And she looks at me and she says, nah, I'm not going to do that. And I said, excuse me? Nah, I said, and then the guy who I was arguing with about removing his vehicle, he said, see, I told you, you're nothing but a security guard. I said, I'm not security. I'm private police, and the owner sent me here. Officer, you got 6 months to a year on the job. You're incorrect. Just get on your radio and call for me a supervisor. At that point, after she did that, 6 other cars rolled up. One of the officers who knew me got out, and I explained to him, I said, could you explain to this officer that, this is private property and all these vehicles have to be ticketed so I can have them towed. He walked up to him and said, he's private police. He's absolutely correct. We're going to ticket all these cars. And, this is some of the things that make me upset with a few of the Philadelphia police officers. Mm-hmm. They don't want to do the job. Mm-hmm. They figure some things are beneath them.
Gotcha.
She stood right there in front of me and said, I don't have a ticket book. And I love the officer's comeback. He was like, that's okay. I got 2 in my vehicle. Guys, we're going to ticket all these cars. And this is what I'm talking about, being in the right place at the right time, because I called you. Right after we finished the last ticket on the car, one of the cars, we're standing facing the park. All you could hear is it sounded like World War III.
Really?
It's in the center of the park. You could just visualize, gunfire back and forth at each other. More than 100 rounds were fired. More than 100 rounds fired.
Wow, okay.
I said, I looked to the left of me, there's a young man wearing gray pants and a black shirt. I said, yo, the guy got a gun. The officer sprung into action standing beside me. He ran, got the guy, got the gun, recovered. And that day they recovered, I believe, 5 or 6 guns and made 5 arrests. Wow. But that would not have happened if they had not been there for the tickets, which one officer refused to do.
Interesting. Wow. Yeah, no, it's an interesting transition you've made from, regular law enforcement into your own private practice. And it is a tough situation. I feel for the police. I certainly back the blue. I
do. Yeah.
And I know you do too. We don't want to defund the police.
No.
And they really haven't in a lot of ways in Philly. I think there's a big misconception. I think they have $700 million worth of funding, so there's funds out there, and they're doing a great. most of the police I've interacted with locally are amazing people. I know you know them.
They are
working with them.
They are awesome people,
and they're taxed beyond belief. Resource wise, I've talked to some officers up in Kensington, for example, and they restricted in what they can even do, even in those drug infested areas, because once they start arresting people, they're off the street. And then there's nobody there to, keep it a little safer.
And that's the idea where we come in.
Yeah.
See, once the cops come in and sweep it up, you need somebody there that's going to continuously keep that area clean.
Right.
You just can't come in and do a big drug bust and think, okay, it's going to stay clean. No, because once you cut the head of a snake, another head grows back, and you have to constantly stay in that area and be vigilant and keep the hammer going.
When did you get involved with firearms at all? When did you shoot your first firearm? Were you a young boy, or was that something that came as being a police officer?
No, I started when I was about, my uncles, Nazareth Reed, started training me to shoot when I was about 13.
Okay,
about
that's
13.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and then after that, as I got in my early 20s, I grew a fascination for it. I actually kind of was a great fan of Clint Eastwood, and
who wasn't? Who isn't? Yeah.
So I ended up getting my first gun was a Desert Eagle.
Oh, really? Your first gun?
My first gun, and they were like, "Wow, that gun's bigger than you, buddy." And I transitioned from that to a 9mm, and And then I started falling in love with the shotguns, and it's just, you know,
What what is your take on the whole thing being exposed at a younger age, as opposed to people who get exposed to it later in life, firearms?
well, my take on it is it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Gun training at a young age teaches you two things. It teaches you how to handle a gun, and you understand gun safety. If all America would do that, you would have less shootings with children picking up mommy and daddy's gun. Oh, that's the real gun. No, we can't, Tommy, we can't play with that. Versus, oh, I'm curious. I see daddy with this all the time. Once kids identify what is a toy and what is real, they know. It's just like the flame on the stove. You stick your hand on that flame, that's hot.
Right, exactly. And you're being taught
And-
no, it's hot. Yeah.
Yeah. I believe that the training is key, and we would have less shootings and less bad incidents with kids being shot at home with weapons.
Yeah, it seems like our country's changed a lot. When I was young, when you were younger, it seemed like there was much more exposure to that. And I was taught at a very young age, similar age to that, to treat it as a tool and to respect it. And I think, here in Philadelphia, that seems to be the source of a lot of the issues. And, what are your thoughts on that? Why is it that Philly and some of these other big cities just have young people run around with firearms, all these illegal guns and just shooting at each other and all the chaos that ensues? What do you think is driving that?
Well, my feelings are two things here. A, our legislature of Pennsylvania and our law enforcement leaders and city councilmen, they're not looking at the real cause. They want to say, okay, let's get more bans and more legislation against banning guns or this type of gun. I can surely tell you right now, I can take my 9mm off me and lay it right here on this table, and that gun can sit there all day long and it won't hurt a soul. It won't hurt a soul. You're looking at this at the wrong angle. You want to come up with all these bills and measures to say, oh, you can't have this gun, you can't have that gun. It's not the guns, because trust me, the individuals out there in the street who get these guns, they could care less about your laws and your bills. But this would help if they said, okay, you're carrying an illegal gun. You get caught with that illegal gun and you're a felon and you know you're not supposed to have it, automatically do 30 years. No probation, no probation. You have to give me the full 30 years. And for every bullet that's in that gun, you have to give me an additional year. If you made that, it sounds harsh, but if you made that a reality, I guarantee you within 1 year, gun violence.
I suppose they'd have to enforce the law.
And also if they enforce that,
because that's the problem we see now. There's a lot of laws on the books. We both
they
know
don't
that.
enforce.
They don't enforce, yeah.
If they enforce something like that, word would get out in the street. Man, if I get caught with this, I'm going to do 30 years.
Right.
You know what? No, I'm not going to do it.
It's interesting a little bit about the weapons that you and your agents carry, and I think there's a big misconception about those types of weapons, because they were talking about they're like critiquing for the whole military weapon. I think there's a big misconception what you guys have versus like true.
Well, when they see it, they say it all the time. Why? What are you doing with that military weapon? They're like, wow. And I come back with a good one. I'm like, well, you do realize if you go to foreign countries like Europe, Russia, Asia, China, Mexico, their officers don't carry sidearms. Their officers carry shotguns, rifles.
Yeah, I remember going to Europe when I was younger, and I saw that, and it was kind of different than what we're accustomed to seeing here in the United States. Although it seems like we're kind of there now, and and you're not the only person doing this. There's quite a few private agencies, and it's growing.
They saw me and they followed suit.
Right. There's a lot of people who are doing it now, and it's not because you want to do it; it's because it's necessary.
It's just a necessary need.
Yeah, there's a necessity to it.
As long as gun violence is, 3 days. What, in 1 month you have 4 bus stations shot up by young folks with Glock switches
Right, right.
in Philadelphia.
Yep.
I mean, it's
A lot of criminals running around with guns right now, unfortunately. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And what message do you have for people who say this isn't the right approach, Andre? Because there are people out there who don't like what you're doing, that don't agree with it. What do you say to them if you have the opportunity? What's your message for them?
well, my message, first of all, if you could come up with a better solution, then let's hear it. I'm willing to sit down and, hey, hear what you have to say and see if your solution works. But with my law enforcement background and with my knowledge of what goes on in the city of Philadelphia, what I do right now is the best solution, and it does work. You can ask any of the 25 clients that I have, it does work. It really, really does work. You have to put prevention first in order to stop crime from happening. If you sit back and say, okay, we'll wait for something to happen and then act, it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
But if you prevent it from happening, that works.
Yeah, that's a good point. No, you're absolutely right. And I've talked to, I talked to Mr. Patel when I was there, and he was very thankful to have you and your agents there because, you can't run a business if you don't have customers, and the customers who were coming there didn't feel safe until you guys arrived. And I believe he owns several gas stations in the
Yes, he
area,
does.
right? So, when you're in an area of the country where the crime is skyrocketing to the point where you can't even run your own business and provide for your family, and then you have to take things into your own hands. And fortunately, you were there to help him with that and keep his business alive. So I commend you for that.
And Mr. Patel said something that was very interesting. He didn't just say, well, it's not just about my business. He says, Chief, if I can't provide a safe haven business for the public, I don't have a business.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, you can't be there, and there's a lot of businesses that have closed down. We've seen
Especially
it in,
Wawa. Wawa.
I was just going to mention them.
Yeah.
I lived in Center City for a while, and there's a couple locations down there I used to frequent, and they've totally shut down.
Yeah.
And I know why they're doing it. I've talked to some of the employees there, and they're doing it to keep their employees safe, which I respect, because if you're not in a safe environment, we know they're open late. So, and really bad things were happening, especially at the one on Broad Street. I'm sure you're familiar with what was going on over there.
Not to mention, you can't survive as a business if you're constantly being robbed and every night.
Right. Where do you see this going? Where do you think we'll be in the next 4 or 5 years or next decade? Do you see this getting better? Do you see it getting worse? Like, what is your personal thoughts on the direction?
I think it has to get worse before it gets better.
Okay.
And I see my industry growing and making a difference. As long as you have issues where, like for instance, Philadelphia's police department is right now low manpower. So
Tough time to be an officer.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is.
And who wants to get into that right now? They probably having difficulty finding people. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, this last graduation, I believe they had maybe 45 people in that class graduate.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That doesn't sound like a lot. I don't know what the normal numbers are.
With sometime in the ending of April, from what I was told, there's going to be like 900 something cops retiring or leaving under a 32. So now your manpower is still going to be very, very low. You're not going to be able to respond to certain calls like you normally would. You're going to have to pick and choose what is considered a priority. Police departments used to handle thefts. You say, hey, there's a theft going on in Wine and Spirit right now. Police officer sergeant would go over radio. Is that criminal still there in the store? And he'll be like, no, they just left. He's wearing this and that, giving a full description. And the supervisor say, just make it a report to follow. Send one car over there, just write a report. Before, you say, send some cars in that area. Let's look for this guy.
Yeah, they know. The criminals know. And once you reach that point where, it's just overwhelming, there's not much you can do about it.
And to add to insult, to make things even worse, and this hurts my guys because we have to deal with this. Ally Barton, their guys are told, they actually sign a document saying, you are a security company. Ally Barton is a security company, but you're only to observe. Someone walks into Wawa and they stand there and they tell me,
Yeah.
they steal, they grab stuff. We're not to say anything to them. I said, what do you mean?
Right.
It says we're not to touch them. We're not to say anything to them. We're to allow them to walk out the door and then, hey, pick up the phone and say, hey, 911. A guy wearing a black hat, black pants, black shirt just went down the street with numerous items from the store. And then
You hear about employees getting fired for intervening.
yeah, and they're but this company says throughout their whole company,
Really?
you're not to take any action.
Wow.
My question is then why you call yourself a security company? You should call yourself an observation company because all you're doing is observing. Now, however, what makes my company different is we're a protection private police. And what we do is you come in here and you steal, you're going to get apprehended. You're going to get arrested. And I'll see you in court.
Because you have authority to
Because we have
arrest
the authority to do that.
What is the distinction with the laws for viewers who are not familiar with what you're doing versus what the police are doing and other security firms? What is the biggest?
Actually, there's no
difference?
distinction.
Yeah.
A civilian could do what I do. A civilian could see a crime in the store happen, pounce on that.
citizen arrest type of
Citizen
thing.
arrest.
Yeah,
Pounce on that person, hold them.
Gotcha.
When they come, they
You
get
see
arrested.
that every now and
You
then.
and I
We're starting
commend
to
those
do
citizens,
it.
and I commend those citizens that take action
Sure.
because that's what you need. It's time for people to see something, say something.
Right,
Not
right.
just I see it, but I'm not going to say anything because it doesn't affect me. But one day it's going to affect you because this is getting out of control.
It is out of
enough
control.
is enough.
Yeah, it really is enough. And, the old adage that, all it takes for evil men to do things is for good men to stand by and watch. So there's
That's
a lot
it.
of that going on.
Exactly.
And people are afraid to step in. Not that we're telling anybody to do that because it's a very personal decision. But,
Yes.
but if more people, stood up against it, and maybe we're breaching some sort of critical mass or breaking point where society and Americans across the country are just going to be fed up with the corruption and the nonsense and this type of behavior and step in. Obviously a lot of it has to start at home with the children, like we talked about.
Yeah.
Training and education and making them aware that there is a future. I think a lot of them, when I talk to them, feel like they just don't have much of a future the way things are going. So they live in this depressed state of despair and they decide to just go down that negative path. But that's not the case. This is still the best country in the world,
is.
and we can make it great again. So there's
And
that.
the one thing that I want to mention,
Yes.
and I feel that I should say, parents, you are the king of your castle. Go into your children's rooms, toss these rooms. Those guns are in your house. Those guns are in your house. Clean your house of these guns. Call 911, say, hey, I found a gun in my house. Your child won't go to jail, and your child will live to see another day. But if you allow that child to have that gun in your house, you are responsible for burying your own child because you could have took the responsibility as the adult of that household to find out if your children have a gun in your house. That is your responsibility. Not to wait till after your child is buried or shot or killed and say, I didn't know. These guns are in your house. Take the time to go through your children's rooms and see what's in there, what's hidden in your house, under your roof.
It's a great message. Thank you, Andre. Very important message. Yeah, it really does start at home.
It does.
Especially around here. We see too many children literally running around with guns. Where are they getting them? Where are they keeping them? So, spend quality time with your kids. It makes a difference. That's a really good
Yes, it
message.
does.
Yeah. One other clip I think I did want to play.
Citizens have to know that they have the Second Amendment to protect themselves. Citizens have to know that they don't have to be a victim. Why should you have to be a victim?
Right.
You shouldn't. Criminals, this is what I say to the politicians who are up there writing all the laws. Right now, they want to say, oh, we want to write this gun law, we want to write this gun law, and we want to write that gun law, restriction. Does the criminal care? That's what I want to ask you. Does the criminal really care about what you write on a piece of paper? No, he's sitting home laughing at you writing all these different laws. You know who you hurt with these laws? You hurt the law-abiding Second Amendment people. The laws that you write saying you can't have this, you can't have it, it's only the law-abiding people that follow it. The bad guy doesn't care. The criminal's going to carry his gun, his 3 guns, his 2 guns. He's going to carry whatever. And he doesn't care or hoot nanny about what law you write. When a lawmaker's going to get that in their head? Texas got it right.
So there you have it. So, there's always two sides of the coin there with the perspective. And do you get into politics at all? What are your thoughts on the political landscape right now?
No, I try to stay away from
Try to
politics.
stay away from it? Okay.
Yeah.
Probably a good idea. Yeah, it's a little crazy right now.
Oh, yes, it is.
Yeah, it is. One thing I want to ask you too, how do you stay so calm? Every time I've interacted with you, you seem really calm and you have your stuff together. We communicated, you showed up here early. Like with the stress you and your guys must be under, what do you do to de-stress? Like what's your advice for other people in stressful jobs and careers and running a business? Like how do you stay?
Well, my stress releaser, believe it or not, is I smoke a cigar.
Oh, do you? Okay, all right. Well, you'll have to come have a cigar with Mike G and myself because we're big cigar
definitely.
aficionados. So
Yeah,
we'll have
okay,
to do
definitely.
that together.
I smoke at Rocky Patel. You know?
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that at all. Yeah, we'll definitely have to do that. Where we're not in front of cameras and we can just relax.
It basically comes from a lot of training and being able to communicate with people.
Okay.
And understanding people's feelings. And when you do this job, you're not just wearing one as an agent, but you're also you're a doctor. Someone needs help. Our guys are first aid trained.
Mm-hmm.
You're a psychologist. If someone just wants to just talk, and I have people come up to me all the time and just talk, and you listen to them talk and say, thank you. You didn't have to take the time to talk to me about this situation, but I just needed someone to talk to. We wear many coats, and to do this job, you have to wear many coats. You have to know how to talk to people and deal with people's reactions.
Mm-hmm. No, you bring up a really amazing point, in the whole, I've seen you, I even watched you from afar a little bit before I approached you to interview that first time. And I see how you conduct yourself professionally in the community, and you have those de-escalation skills and those people skills you're welcome. No, I mean, I don't know that a lot of people really realize what you're doing out there every day. And I can't imagine the stress of the day in, day out, being this visible too. I mean, to some degree, that takes a lot of courage and fortitude, and I respect you and your guys for doing that and allowing business owners like Mr. Patel to continue to run his operations and provide a safe environment to fill up and get snacks and stuff in the worst parts of the city and other areas. So, no, thank you for what you're doing.
I'll tell you, this is the second time that I have delivered a baby. One of them was...
You delivered a baby?
Right at the hotel.
Tell us about that.
I was coming through the hotel and to check around and make sure everything is okay and check on my guy. And this lady, she's coming down the steps and she's like, I need to be rushed to the hospital. I'm getting ready to take her to the hospital. And I noticed her water broke. I said, no, that's not happening. She says, what do you mean? I said, your water just broke. I said, listen, to the maid, I said, go get me some towels. You go get me this. You go get me that. We're going to do this baby right. I actually, right there in the lobby, delivered the baby.
You really? Wow,
yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
wow.
it was amazing. It was awesome. And the most joyous thing out of it, she said, after everything, they came back a week later to the hotel, and she said, we named the baby after you, Andre. Thank you so much.
Really? Wow, I was going to say awesome. That. I was like, wow, the story
awesome.
Would be amazing if they did. Yeah. They did. Wow, that's a miracle.
Yeah.
And you are a man of faith. Right?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. That was being in the right place at the right time, and I'm grateful that I was able to had the skills to do what I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, people forget about that side of it. You're not there just to use force in a situation. You're there to help other people who are in need and protect them. And you're even looking out for the guy who made a decision to smoke at the gas pump. I mean, you think adults would understand that's pretty dangerous, but maybe some people don't care. But you even went out of the way to approach him and to deliver a baby. That's really wild. That's a cool experience. I can't imagine. I haven't been in that situation other than being there when my son was born, which was amazing. Quite the miracle to see that. But that's really cool. God put you in the right place at the right time. Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. And no, what an amazing conversation. I really want to, again, thank you for coming in and taking the time out of everything you have going on and what Santiago and his family and his wife.
Thank you guys for having us.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for what you're doing, and definitely would love to have you back on. And before we wrap up this special episode, is there anything else you'd like to say to the people of Philadelphia or the United States that you haven't said, or you just feel passionate and message that you want to get out? And then also, if you could let people know how they could contact you if they're interested in working with you, hiring you, or want to reach out to you for any reason.
Once again, my passion is, parents, you need to do more. You have to get more involved in your children's lives. You have to go in these rooms, go in these houses, go in your houses, go in these children's rooms, tear these rooms apart and see what's going on. I mean, there's guns. These guns are in your house. Believe it or not, they're in your house. The drugs, they're in your house. And the only way you're going to find out is if you go into your child's room and start looking around and find these weapons, find these drugs. Try to make a difference before you bury your child. Try to make a difference before your child is behind bars. Try to make a difference before your child gets shot. And the only way to do it is to get involved. You're the king of your castle. Go in your child's rooms. Look on your internet, your child's PDA or your child's phone or whatever, and see what they're saying. See what they're involved in. You may be the person to save their life or prevent death from happening to somebody else's child. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Chief. I appreciate you taking the time to be with us here on the Mike G in the Morning Show. You can see us Thursday nights, 7 o'clock, shortly after 7 o'clock on YouTube. And, of course, Friday mornings on WFYL 1180, the Freedom Station. And special shout out to Mike G for making all this possible, and Snappuccino Productions. So thank you all, and God bless. Thank you.